What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and this week's guests are Carly and Brendan Coyle. Now, Carly and Brendan both got their careers started at High West Distillery, where Brendan eventually became the head distiller, and Carly was the mastermind behind a lot of the operations and finance there. But Brendan had an idea on the back of his head that he always wanted to accomplish of owning his own cidery and owning everything around it, including where they grew the fruit, and wanted to do it based in Utah. And after buying the property a few years ago, they were finally able to open this year and release their first bottle with Dendrick Estate. Now, the property is based up in Camas, Utah, actually not too far away from High West itself. And they just barely launched their first bottle. They're building out their own tasting room and building out the rest of their orchard as well. It's a great story. I'm so excited for it to be based here. Two great people that really want to build and create something amazing for the Utah community, and was grateful to be able to sit down with them on the property, get a tour of it, and excited to share this with you. So let's jump into it. I'm excited for y'all to hear from Brendan and Carly, but yeah, let's hear more about how they started Dendrick Estate. Brendan and Carly Coyle. I'm excited about this one because the way I met both of you was fun, because I actually just drove past it on the way up at the new Grand Hyatt at Mayflower. I don't know what to call that, or Deer Valley East, Mayflower, off Jordanelle, where they were once upon a time going to put a new ski resort. Pandemic happened, and then Deer Valley's like, actually, you're going bankrupt. We'll take it and build onto our ever-expanding empire.
But that was never the plan at the beginning, right?
Wait. And so go to this huge, because there's events I go to where I'm like, oh, cool, fun, I know people, this is great. Because my social anxiety is weird, where if I walk into a room where I know everybody, nothing gives me more energy in my life. I love saying hi to my favorite people, catching up, having a great conversation. But if I walk into a room I know nobody, I'm like, let's just go into the corner a little bit. Or if I find my emotional support human, I'll latch onto them. And I'll be like, all right, we're together now. He's like, what do you mean we? But then I think it was Carly at first, because I'm writing this exact same back. And you're like, oh my gosh, Eric, you had the episode with Isaac Winter, and we were starting the cidery up in Camas. I'm like, that sounds amazing. Excited, congrats, what a huge accomplishment. Let's touch base once it starts to become more reality. I'd love to have you on and talk about it. And then good old Krista Graff, as I'm part of her email distro for all of her PR announcements. I see the PR announcement, I'm like,
it's time.
It's time.
Yes.
And so it's fun, especially to record, in the place itself, the orchard right in front of us, where we've done, since you bought it 6 years ago now, that much R&D into the fruit and the growing and everything, into now where all the machinery that you bought at one point to be like, we will use this to make cider. And now it's, gone through its processes and it's live. So, hey, congrats. What an accomplishment with so much done.
Yeah, it's here. It's finally tangible, right? We got a product to crack open and taste. We got equipment that's been broken in, and it's lovely to see the orchard this healthy, just all green and grown up. So
yes, it's if you have a kid, it's a 9-month process, and this is then a 6-year process. So I couldn't have that much patience. After a year, I'd be like, all right, come on, where's the cider already? Give me the outro.
Trust me, I thought that several times. I'm like, wait, how long is this process going to take? But to make a good product, you gotta have that patience, and you gotta let it do its thing. And we're super proud of the product that we just keep out.
I'm excited to feel your product. I can't speak to it yet. I know all of it beforehand, but excited to taste it for myself. But it's so fun. I'm sure it was an easy process. No sort of hiccups.
Zero bumps.
No, everything went according to plan. Every last thing.
As it always does with any project at all.
Oh man. There were, definitely some hiccups, pretty much every phase of the project. But that's one thing that it's really great to have a partner, especially your spouse, involved, is that whenever I'm I want to destroy this machine, Brendan can be like, let's take a breath. Let's go for a walk in the orchard. Here's a coffee. Let's touch some trees and figure this out. And so, we switch back and forth, and that support's really important.
And I love those marital/business partnerships, because I've recorded with enough people and entrepreneurs at this point. So many of them started with, blah, 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 me and my partner. A year later, bought out my partner because it just didn't work for one way, shape, or form. And then you have the people who have like a marital partnership on top of it because they're like, listen, we have to make this work. Or else other things might happen. And so it's about like even thinking about, I mean, the most recent one, like Manoli, Casaneves with Manoli's in Perea, like just hearing about how they're showing their relationship is, their partnership is. I mean, obviously like similar to, I'm sure both of you experience where there's times you want to pull your hair out, times you want to pull his hair out. But at the end of the day, it comes together well. And so I'm sure there's been great memories, bad memories, all the memories, but.
Yeah, everything in between. I mean, the great thing about this partnership that we started here is we've already worked together. So when we both joined High West, I mean, Brendan joined 2007?
Yeah.
And I was 2009. And for the first few years there, we were working like literally how we're seated right now. So we worked shoulder to shoulder for the first 5 years of that company. And loved working together. And that's obviously where our relationship came from. So we already knew before we started this that like we loved working together. And when we moved to different, positions with High West, and then I moved out of High West, and we missed working together. So coming back together for this project has been really exciting.
Which takes something very special. Like I've been in enough relationships in my life, both, I mean, romantically, professionally, like familially, that's the word.
Yeah.
We'll run with it. Like, I know there's people I could not do that with. I call like the Jim and Pam dynamic from The Office. Like, I can't imagine having like, hey, we wake up, the kids wake up, we get them ready for breakfast, we drop them off at daycare, we go to work together, we work the entire day, we leave together, we go pick up the kids together, we go make dinner together, we go to bed together, we wake up again. Like,
It's a different type of relationship.
I don't, like, I'm someone who needs my alone time, and I love people talking and social interaction, but there's times when I'm like, listen, I'm going to go walk as far as I can that way. Don't follow me. But on a missing person report if it's been 36 hours.
I mean, that's why we have 20 acres here. Super. I can walk in a straight line for a very long time.
How much space do we need? 20 acres. How did you get to that number? Do you want to know the answers?
As far as like to walk.
But, I mean, I want to set the context of, like, High West before the both of you. Because I know, I mean, obviously, High West since 2007, since 2009 in your various capacities, but maybe we can start with Brendan and go from, like, I mean, how did you end up in Utah itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came from Minnesota originally, born and raised,
What part?
just west of Minneapolis, a place called Wayzata, Minnetonka. It's kind of near some lakes and stuff. Do you know Minnesota? Looks like you know Minnesota.
She's from Minnesota. So we were actually there a couple of weeks ago. I flew into Fargo and got a 2.5-hour weather delay because of tornado warnings. But then, so her family was all in Minnesota, and we went to the lakes, which is the whole state. It's my without the lakes. So now anybody says Minnesota, I'm like, I know something. And then they say anything else besides like the small areas, and I'm like, just kidding.
All you need to know is it's near a lake.
I was like, yeah, we're like 25 minutes west of Minneapolis, basically, right? And then, so I grew up at mountain biking. I love mountain biking in high school. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm graduating from high school. I'm going to go get a college degree, and I'm going to keep mountain biking. Those are my two goals coming out of high school. It's like, I want to keep mountain biking, get a college degree. And so I came to University of Utah on Salt Lake City, because Park City then, and kind of now too, is like still like this mecca of cross-country mountain biking, And so that's what brought me here originally. And it wasn't long. I was here for like maybe a year and a half. And my neighbor during college gave me a home brewing kit. And he's like, I'm out of here. I got to go. I got these other obligations elsewhere. I'm purging a whole bunch of my belongings. Had you ever thought about home brewing in your life? And I was like, no, never. He's like, how about you try? Just try it. I'm like, okay, cool.
So that feels like a very, like, because I imagine this house full of things that, because when everybody moves, there's always the thing like, okay, we're going to sell this, going to donate, and we'll give this away. But to look at you, be like, here's a home brewing kit. You're like, feels personal.
Yeah. So I just like pieced it together, and I started brewing beer in the kitchen, right? I really got into it. So I started like, kind of changing my degree. I started doing my own studies. I started like really pouring all my time and extra money into home brewing. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to pour all my extra time and money into this, I should probably think of it as like an actual direction to go. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I started home brewing. I landed an apprenticeship at Red Rock Brewing Company back in the day, back when Kevin Templin was there. Templin brought me in, taught me a whole bunch of stuff, and just really gave me my break in the industry, really. And so I was with Red Rock for, it's like 5 or 6 years. I eventually went to Scotland, did a master's in brewing distilling sciences at Heriot-Watt.
Which is wild, like, because now I know of like 4 or 5 people that have done that, which is way too many people for how small and specific that thing it is. But it's fun to see how many people have been like, okay, like this is something I want to do, something I want to be learn about, go do it, which is like a very like strong, how do I want to say it, like dedication to the craft process, whatever I call it, and be like, all right, of all the because like that can also be an inflection point of saying, okay, now I have this worldwide perspective of the distilling process. Oh, I want to go to anywhere in the world. But I mean, especially in your case, we're like, listen, nobody has as good as mountain biking as Park City. So if you want to make me an offer, make me an offer, but this better be in the offer, because if not, kick rocks.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, I came back, and then when I came back, I just, again, it's kind of like so many things in life are just timing, right? Like where you are at that time. And I got hooked up with High West Distillery from day one. So where David Perkins was starting the company, he needed a master distiller, and so I was just really hot off the degree, only like 6 months back in the States. I was consulting a little bit, doing some work in the industry, but jumped on with High West from day one, and that was a wild ride for like almost 20 years now. We built the company up, and we eventually sold it to Constellation Brands, and then I took a global role for Constellation Brands right after that. Yeah, so I was master distiller across their global spirits portfolio. Again, a wild time, right? 6 or 7 years traveling around the world, and just an amazing opportunity. And I learned a ton, but I also learned something very valuable, like what I wanted to come back to, you know?
Yeah.
Like I realized like it was a great education, it was a great opportunity, but I was like, you know what? I'm not done building from the ground up. You know, I want to build something again. And this idea was in our heads for a long time, and it was like backburnered for a while. You know, it was such a big project that took so much resources and time and everything, but you kind of backburner it.
But it's still scratch.
But it's still, yes, elms up every now and then.
Because like, again, like let's just talk about like the distilling or outbev industry in general. Like, how many people would kill to be like, oh, you're the master brewmaster at what's the title?
Master distiller.
Master distiller, or master brewmaster rolls off the tongue better, but I'll workshop it with them. Master distiller for, one of the largest portfolio of alcoholic beverages. Like, people kill for that, but at the same time, they're like, listen, it's great, don't get me wrong, but there's something else that I need to be doing, and it's not this.
Yeah, exactly. I saw it as like, great opportunity and a great education. You know, so there's so many things that you can learn at a really big company that you can't learn like on your own or at a very small company. It's all very valuable stuff, but like when you get both sides of the experience, it really shows you what you really value. You know, what you want that next kind of 10 years, that next chapter to be. So, and it was this. You know, it was building something from the ground up again. And the key thing about this that like really kept scratching, like you're saying, like that, I just could not let go of it, was that agriculture element, right? To put together another brand, a high-end, essentially we're a winery here. We're a mountain estate winery. We make cider, but we're regulated. We're thought of as just like a winery in the eyes of the federal government. And to bring the agriculture like to a mountain winery, because we love to live in the mountains, right? We love to ski, love to mountain bike. We loved our life in the mountains. And to bring like the passion to build something from the ground up to where you want to be the rest of your life in the mountains, like that's just unstoppable. Like, couldn't ignore it.
Which is such like a common trend when I look at, it's called Salt Lake, broader Salt Lake area, is there's so many people that come here because, again, they're drawn towards the mountains, they're drawn towards the West, they're drawn towards so many things that, has inspired people to be here since the mid 1800s and even before then. But then a lot of people bring what they want with them. Like, oh, well, I want this here, but it's not here. And it's one of those, like, I call it the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban theory, where, because there's the time, and if you never seen it, then bear with me, and if you have seen it, maybe you'll get it. But there's the point at the end where he's sitting there, all the Dementors are coming, he's like, no, my dad's going to show up. He's going to cast the Patronus right there. He's the one that's going to do it. And then it gets to the point, he's like, shit, it was me. I have to be the one to do this. And so you have this moment where you're like, oh, someone else is going to come bring the winery or the cidery that I want, or someone else is going to make this world-class whiskey shop, or someone else is going to bring all these breweries to downtown Salt Lake. But then time after time, there are these people that are like, shit, expect a Patron. it's me now. But I'm also curious of, like, in your experience, because you have this great career of being like, okay, I get this beer kit. This is fun. I like this. I think I can take this more seriously. To then walking into Red Rock and seeing good old Kevin Templin, and he's like, yo, I got an idea for a thing called LFI now. Let's do this. To then going to Scotland, coming back, getting the great experience at High West, getting the great experience at Constellation. What were some of those key learnings along the way that really set that foundation to start this?
For me, a big part of it was balancing that, like, that business, that professional mindset, right, to make things work, because you're governed by
you don't have limitless money. You don't have like limitless time. Like you have to like be wise about the decisions and the actions that you take. You have to be like business smart about it. But you also don't want to lose the craft or the art behind it. You want to experiment. You want to innovate. You want to do something different to like open people's eyes, right? And so balancing that along the entire way, seeing that business side and creating like a viable company and a viable product at the same time, innovating and experimenting and pushing yourself and challenging other people around you and drinkers around you to show like, hey, this actually is a really interesting, dry, complex, like mountain wine. You don't know it because like, the American industry has mostly been a different type of cider over the past 100 years, but this really is like another style of interesting wine. So to see that aha moment, but still put it together in like a good, like, responsible company. Like that's the fun part, right? That's the balance, that's the challenge.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the conversation with Isaac Winter, because he started at Red Rock, and they went to Uinta, where, they just gotten private equity money and they're essentially like, do whatever the hell you want, go make all the beers that you want. And so there wasn't this kind of like business conscious part of it that had to enter his brain. And then as he took over more there and then went up to High West, like one of the biggest learnings for him was, because again, you have this, let's call it artistic, creative side of things, which is the distilling, the brewing, like the art of creating an amazing beverage that you want to share with people. But then also the more that you go through this process and rise up in leadership and responsibility, more of this business side comes in. It's like, oh, you do have a P&L now. You do have a budget. Yeah. You do have stakeholders, a C at the board meeting. You do have to be responsible for all of these decisions. And all of a sudden, like, you'll want this plague of business logic to come in and impact the creative side of things, but at the end of the day, they have to become harmony, or else, right, if you spend too much time or effort on one, then the other one gets destroyed.
Yeah, if you want to sustain one, you need the other. They have to go hand in hand, and that's the real learning and the challenge, but you can do it. It's totally doable. It's harder work once it's doable.
Cool. So, there was definitely a point at High West where all of a sudden you're sitting next to this cute girl. So I'm curious, Carly, let's go back to the top for you. How did you end up in this interesting state to find yourself in?
Yeah, I grew up on the East Coast and lived abroad for a bit, first in England and then in New Zealand. And
what took you there?
England, I was there for like middle school and high school with my family. And then New Zealand, I just, quote unquote, studied abroad for a year there. Did a lot of traveling, had a lot of fun. And then came back to the States and kind of kept working my way west. I ended up in Yellowstone National Park for a season, which was a super fun year, and grew up skiing. So I knew that I wanted to be in a ski town. My idea was just that I was going to balk around ski towns and live that ski bum life and be a ski patroller. And I came to Park City. I thought that I would just spend a season here. I'm like the quintessential Park City person, where I came for one season and now 14 years later is still here.
I always loved that because like when I was growing up, I grew up skiing all the time. Every Saturday, if it was in the summer, my grandpa would be towing a boat, picking us up, throwing it back in the truck. We went water skiing. In the winters, throw your skis in the back of the truck. We're going skiing. And like as a kid, I never talked to anybody on a ski lift. I was like, grandpa, the job. He told one of his 5 jokes. He'd get off and we go. But then it was funny, coming back from my mission where, I call it trauma, I call it just 2 years of doing the same thing, but I just got so used if someone was next to me, just started talking to him, to the point I was in jury duty once, and we're all sitting in this room waiting, and I crack, I'm like, all right, I can't do this anymore. Everybody go around the room, tell me your name, tell me something about you, and all these people are like, the hell is wrong with you? But sure, I'm Mary from but then ski season starts, so I got back, and of course, sitting alone next to someone on a trail, if I start talking, and it wasn't until that moment where it clicked, I was like, no one is from here. I just assumed that if we're in the same place and this is how I got here, then we all got here. And then even more so when I went in college, I was one of the first Lyft drivers, and it was fun to just hear people's stories I came here for a wedding and never left. And so it's fun to see how, people get so locked into this. And I'm also always jealous of people that did the ski bum experience, because I can do whatever I want to, but it's a lot harder now than it would have been then. But also, just from that perspective, what made you choose Park City compared to, even from let's do an 8-hour diameter, there's 15 to 20 other options that could have checked a lot of those same boxes.
Yeah, great question. So when I was in college at Wisconsin studying abroad in New Zealand, my family actually named Derek Pierce. I have parents, my 2 younger siblings. to Park City. And so when I was like ready, when I was done in New Zealand, ready to come home, they sent me a plane ticket and it was into Salt Lake. And I was like, why am I flying into Salt Lake?
Well, made a mistake.
It's like, cool. Did you grab my stuff? Am I moved too? So yeah, he came to visit them, fell in love with the town. But again, I always just thought that I would kind of pass the year after a season. So I did a volunteer ski patrol year at our season at Canyons before it was a Carson Canyons. I had a fantastic time there. I got a part-time job at High West Distillery and met Brendan, I guess 2 weeks after moving to Park City, and that was kind of it for me.
Interesting. So it is, man, it is like a little Jim and Pam moment here.
I interrupted our interview. I was setting up the distillery in at the saloon, right? Like the High West on Main Street or on Park Avenue in Park City. And I was setting up, getting fermenters commissioned in the basement and getting into the going stuff. And then the restaurant and finance side and what the business was spun up and they were hiring. And I walked in, the office and I totally interrupted our interview. And I'm just like, who the hell is this interviewing in the office right now? And like from that, it's up over.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. What are you for dinner tonight? Just curious. No real reason.
Here's just some new questions in this interview here.
It's the second part of the interview. Don't tell everybody about this. This is between us. Anuna, how long into that experience? Because you were there in 2007. She joined in 2009. I mean, was it like a Taylor Swift song from the beginning, or did it take time, or you just then find yourselves getting married? I guess let's start with the date of it. What date did you guys get married, and then we can work back from there.
2014.
Okay, so there was a big courtship in there.
Yeah. It's not fast. It's kind of funny because, at the time we were opening High West and like opening a business, especially like hospitality, food and beverage business, that's like tied to the manufacturing, like everything opening at the same time. Like you're pulling crazy hours, right? So like work hard, play hard, right? So we're pulling crazy hours, opening the place. We're also going out partying at night and stuff together. It's like you're burning the candle all the time.
Yes, and then you trip and you fall and you kiss her. And you're like, oh, my gosh, that.
And we were talking earlier about how small of the community the alcohol beverage scene is in Utah, and just to drive home that point. So Mark Radura, who is the owner of Level Crossing Brewing, he was with High West with us from the very beginning. So Mark, Brendan, and myself were kind of like this little trio that would just work all day and then go party in Park City at night, and just this. We're the best friends. And then Mark ended up being our officiant at our wedding too. So it's goes out into all of the alcohol beverage industry here.
These are Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans, but it's also a meme of like, it's one of those boards where it's like all the pictures, the yarns drawn to the pictures of all the investigative, and he's like going crazy. Like, I want to do that with just like the Outback scene in Utah. I'd be like, all right, of course, we got Tim Kendall. You got all of these things in places, and how it brings everybody together and everybody knows each other. Like, it's funny to think of throwing, like, let's call it a founder, brewmaster, who's kind of like heads of all of the places. There's no way anyone would walk in like, oh, shit, I don't know why you're. If anything, it would probably turn into a pretty great part pretty quickly. Oh, you should do this. Everybody brings their own respective six-pack, bottle, whatever, and then, like, the best, oh, yes, it's called a potluck of all time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Might need a hotel room.
Yeah, someone's going to need to bring food.
Yes. So you guys go through, you work together, you party together, blood, sweat, and tears of getting, High West, the saloon up and going, get more of the process between the distilling side, get married. And then, he has this idea in his head. At least it's some part of the process of ideation and execution. Did you have something were you there to support him in his dream? Did you have anything else that you want to do on top of it? Or
yeah, so when he first started talking about this, he's like, I had a global spirits at Fortune 500 company. I'm like, you're doing pretty good. Like this kind of, it's kind of good path for you. But the more we talked about it, and the more, we talked about how much we love starting up High West and how much we loved living here, and we just really wanted to be more of a part of the community in the Camas Valley, and dig in deeper. So, just the more we talked about it, the more I was like, okay, we could do this. Yeah. And I'm more on the finance side of things, accounting, and like brand management. And so, of course, my head is immediately like, how would this work by cleaning all the numbers?
Blood pressure spiking.
No, totally.
just make a great product that people want to buy. You're like, yeah, we're just trying to make a great product. That's going to solve everything.
It's like, all right. I mean, I know you can make good products, so we'll see what happens.
Like, it's like, I trust you. And you're not even saying that to him. That's just at the bathroom mirror every morning.
There was a time when I kind of like, forced is probably the wrong word. I kind of sealed the deal when we acquired this lane.
So Carly,
Talk into the process of like, how you, because I'm sure this isn't the only property you toured, but
yeah, we were looking for the property for a while, right? So even 2-3 years, and like Carly was like, she's like on board, but she wasn't on board. I was still convincing her. She like thought it was a good idea, but she needed more convincing. But it wasn't really just to be
good.
We raised skippers, so we're a good pair in that sense.
It's like, hey, listen, I want to go buy 20 acres, start our own cider brand in Camas, Utah. We're gonna do it. It's like, I'm in.
Someone's got to, double check.
Yeah.
I think.
It's fun it is to be that whimsical. There's also some pragmatic roots that need to be there. So I'm glad you could bring both.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we were shopping around rather too casually for like 2 or 3 years, and then I'm driving to the distillery one morning, and they're literally hammering in the for sale sign on this property.
That's where I'm not. And I'm like, exactly what happened. Slam on the brakes, whip it over, call the number, and I'm like, just do some hasty research over the next several days. And it was kind of a weird situation where it was kind of like a silent bid, kind of a property sale, which I think kind of scared some people off. But we did all the research, and we're like, you know what? Yeah, there's a little unknown in there, but I think this is going to line up pretty well. Carly had to leave. She flew out of the country when she was working with that country.
Because of this process? Oh, you're going to do this? I'm going to go back to New Zealand for a second. I need to go decompress.
So she heads to, was it Journey?
I was in Germany I was with backcountry.com at the time on their bike team and was over in Germany for Eurobike. And Brenda came over. We decided to extend that into a vacation in Switzerland and do part of the Haute route.
So I pretty much like convinced her over the phone. I'm like, hey, let's put a bid on this property. And she was kind of like, And I'm like, worst case scenario, if this goes under, you just sell it. It's like, it's land. It's not going to go down in value. So I take a video of like myself submitting this envelope, this packet, which is like the bidding packet will land, submitting it into a mailbox at Salt Lake City International Airport right before I'm getting onto a plane to come to Germany to meet her, to like go hike half the Haute route after her business trip and stuff, And like, well, there we go. And just like slide it into the mailbox and like, look forward to what happens. Yeah. He's like, so, and then had a great trip, hiked half the Haute route, incredible time, like practically forget about the bid that we submitted. And we're
No cell service, just like,
yeah, right.
10 well.
We're literally in, is it Zermatt? But yeah, we're having our final dinner in Zermatt, and great place, like, hey, let's go, go spend some money on our last dinner, in Zermatt. And so we're at this wonderful dinner, and then my phone rings on the table, and it's our realtor who was like tracking it for me. And I'm like, nah, forget it. I flip it over, like, I'm not answering that. Like, this is a beautiful dinner. I'm not going to interrupt it for the phone call. And then he calls back like a minute later, and she sees it, and she's like, you probably should answer that. And so I pick it up, and he's like, well, you won the bid. So that turned into a celebration dinner of acquiring the land.
It was like, let's get another bottle. And I was like, I need another bottle.
Carly's brain's just going through all of what's about to happen. That's where it's starting, yeah.
Excited.
And then walk out. So, obviously you get the property, you come back from Germany, and what year was that? That's 2019 when you purchased it.
Yeah.
And then what was like the next step? Because I imagine you had at least done some research of being like, okay, so we have it. We need to start planting. We need to start putting up, like all of the infrastructure of everything.
Yeah.
Walking you through kind of the next steps after that.
With the agriculture, we obviously knew the agriculture would take the most time, right? It just takes time to develop and mature. So we wanted to get that in the ground right away and start experimenting, right? Just start answering all those questions, because we are not farms. In case anyone out there is listening, we are not farmers, okay? You don't have a degree in it. You don't have experience.
We are farmers.
So that was the learning curve right there. So we taught ourselves, how to do this up at this elevation. There's no playbook up here for this, right? We're doing high density cider fruit on trellis. So we figured it out over the next 3 or 4 years. COVID helped. We kind of got sidelined.
I think that's the first time I'd heard that phrase.
I don't know if there's want to use that phrase.
Usually it's like it almost went bankrupt because of COVID, or almost unalived myself.
We were forced extra research and development time because of COVID. We dubbed it our COVID sanity project. Go ahead.
And I will say, when Brendan says we figured it out, we figured it out with a lot of help from a lot of people. So there was obviously a lot of Google education going on, but this whole valley is it has that agriculture heritage to it. So we were leaning on, neighbors, other orchardists, and it was a group effort for us to be
hey, we bought this property. This is what we want to do. Who can help us out?
Yeah.
So when Brendan says we, it was an extended.
Well, and it's nice too, because like, I mean, this area, I mean, for those who aren't familiar with, I mean, Camas and Oakley, I mean, there's a lot of people who break horses, a lot of cattle, but there's also a ton of hay farming. So, well, I mean, shocker, animals and hay are different, but I'm sure there's at least people like, I can help you with something. Like I can help you start from somewhere. And I mean, even in general, just like Utah, I mean, very collaborative people. People always want to help each other, even if it's the competitor across the street. Like one story I love of Kevin Templin is when Hannah, why can't I think of her last name, from Hans Kombucha, like her printing line wasn't working. She couldn't get it ready to go. She had to bottle all this kombucha. And like, I can't remember if she like texted or called Kevin. And like he didn't answer or respond, and the next thing she knows, he's like walking in the back. He's like, "All right, let's get this figured out." Type thing. So it's nice to have a community. And like because there's different ways they could approach it, right? Because like there's like a lot of the sentiment, especially in kind of like the more rural areas of Utah, like outside, like the next layer outside of kind of more developed places, where like, oh, I think outsiders are coming in, like blah blah blah. So they could easily think like, oh, here's another people trying to come steal our land, and like blah blah blah. I don't know. I use this accent, but we're gonna do it. So it could easily like just instantly like, I mean, turn their nose at you, look the other way, but instead they're like, all right, like, how can we help?
Yeah, I mean, what ties it all together is that it was agriculture, right? It's like, you know, it doesn't. They're excited that we're doing something that involves agriculture, even however different it might be from like what they're used to and what's normal for this valley. Like we're doing something different that involves agriculture, and so everyone's been so supportive of that, so supportive of that. Because Eastern Summit County, it's great for it. You know, we have open space, we have agriculture out here. We're right next to Park City. It's getting a ton of development pressure or like interest. So anything that can promote and protect the agriculture within this valley, I think pretty much everyone's on board for that.
Total. Yeah. So walk me through, because like obviously I would assume you're doing some sort of research before you buy the property of like, oh, like here's the fruit, here's the difference in it all, here's like, I mean, kind of like thinking about that next step. But that's a very different thing than, again, like we're planting this here right now because of this reason. I mean, walk me through a little bit of like that deductive process of how you decided on what fruit and why.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a lot of reference and research towards what's being done in those key areas where they grow different types of apples. So basically, you look to a handful of places throughout the U.S., Washington, New York, Michigan. There's a handful of universities that do some pretty damn good research on modern, high-density, perennial tree fruit and things like that, stone fruit. And so I was just digging up everything I possibly could and trying to find the closest match to our climate here. And oddly enough, if you look through all the temperatures, like the temperature graphs, the frost models and everything like that across the entire United States, what comes pretty close to the Camas Valley is the Bitterroot Valley in Montana. And that's where I kind of really honed in. And we actually took a trip up there. We drove up there to visit the valley, meet with orchardists, and understand, how they're doing what they're doing up there, because that was the closest, climate we could pull for the Camas Valley. And so that was part of it. And just a lot of reference, a lot of research. And then, of course, you're going to be wrong in a lot of things you do, right? It's like there's so much trial and error. It can only take you so close because this is a unique area where we are right here. There's no playbook up here. And so the trial and error filled in the rest. That's over those 4 years. And now we've got a pretty good playbook on what works up here, from varietals to methods. We've been managing this orchard organic to date, and we're pretty excited to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, like I've talked about, like, everything goes according to plan, obviously. There's no wrenches or hiccups or speed bumps, but I mean, you just have to learn to roll with the punches. And Carly, obviously this has been so much of his vision, and like he latches onto it, but what have been some of your favorite parts of the things that you've learned the most in it being kind of brought in from the guy that you legally and emotionally decided to attach your life to?
Yeah, it's been really exciting for me because I've been able to branch out into like every aspect of the business. So usually when you have like a full-time job, you've got your silo, you've got your, punch list for the week. With a startup business, as it was with High West as well, but you really get to like jump into every aspect. So everything, for me, it's everything from, accounting, payroll, HR stuff, to, and as I say HR, it's just me and my husband.
Honey, I've talked to HR about this.
I've got a complaint to make. But yeah, so it's everything from, accounting, finance, all of that, which is my background, to, social media and like newsletters and press releases. And then to like go out into the orchard and like plant a whole bunch of trees and be like, well, I hope you survive here. And like, say, sting happy. I try and give them all high fives in the morning. But yeah, it's been really fun just to be a part of every aspect of the business from the startup. And I mean, even the parts that suck, like licensing and permits, which we could fill an entire wall in here of all the permits and licenses that you have to get. I'm sure every brewer and the distiller and cider maker knows what we're talking about. But yeah, even those less fun parts are still like challenging and exciting, and it's all on you, and it's stressful, but we get there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Brendan, when you think about, I mean, again, like your career up to this point, it starts with beer, and your neighbor giving you beer to make in your garage with his own beer maker kit as he takes off, to, I mean, all the way, assuming it's a line graph, we know it's not, to being like the master distiller for Constellation Brands. I mean, how did this change the way that you thought about, I mean, the creation process, the creative process? Because it's very different than anything that you had done before. But what were some of those things that you had to learn and take into account to create that great product that you knew you could make?
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate right now. The Outbev community and like everyone who participates in it as a consumer or a manufacturer, and on the food side, we're super fortunate right now that everyone out there seems to want more information, better sourcing, better like intelligence, more quality, more transparency around everything they're putting in their body from food and drink, and they want to know the process. They want to understand it better, and the consumer is like as smart as they've ever been nowadays. And I think a lot of big companies don't give them credit. You know, they're pretty damn smart, and they want to know more. They want the intellectual capital. And so one of the things that I really appreciated over the years was that I call it cross-pollination through the industry, right? And so things that I learned in the brewing industry, things I learned in the distilling industry, applying that towards the wine industry, you know, the cider and the wine industry, and vice versa along the way, is when it comes from techniques to yeast strains to the OChem behind it. It's like there's a lot of things you can use outside of this very narrow band that they were developed for over the last 2 centuries of, you know, how the modern industry really developed. You can do things and apply things in different ways on the other side of the coin, you know, from spirits to wine, and it can give you a unique outcome. And the consumer right now is like so ready for those types of things. You know, I feel like over the last, call it century, you've had very defined lanes that, you know, these products kind of stayed in. But now in the last 20 years, there's all these new different products, you know, you have the hazy IPAs, you have natural wines, you have the consumer's so much more open with their palate. They're willing to try new things. They're not super rigid. Like it has to drink like this. It has to look like this. It has to, you know, and so it allows us as manufacturers and producers and artists to like really do different things, challenge the consumer and see what they like and don't like, and say, just open your eye, open your, you know, perception of what this can be. And that's what I really love doing over the years, is that cross-pollination of sciences across the industries. It's super fun.
Yeah, and especially like the biggest difference of creating cider of other things we've created in the past is you have a fruit, where before you have a grain, you have water. I mean, how did that change the way you thought about your process?
Yeah, it's the agriculture is such a big component in cider and in wine. You're dealing with a fruit that has all the water in it already, right? You have to take care of that plant, that tree, that vine, whatever it is. You have to take care of that through the season, optimal health, make sure it can produce the best possible fruit because it contains all the water and all the flavor profile in it. When you're dealing with spirits and you're dealing with beers and things like that, I'm not saying that the agriculture doesn't matter. The agriculture definitely matters, especially with like hops in beer. But it's a little bit different on the bulk of the product where you're adding the water. We're taking a dry product, you know, from agriculture, and you're adding the water, and you're taking a lot more steps down the road to essentially like, you know, decide its trajectory of flavor profile. But in the wine industry and cider industry, you're just leaning so much more heavily on the natural quality of that natural product, that agricultural product coming from the earth. So it just plays such a bigger role, you know, and it's just, you know, they say the best wines are made in the field, you know, not in the winery, they're made in the field. And there's some truth to that. It depends on what you're making, but there is some truth to that. And that was the big eye opener for this venture, was agriculture plays a much bigger role here.
Yeah. And maybe a question for both of you, but like, if there's someone who, I mean, whether they're a cider enthusiast or looking for something else, I mean, what do you think separates your product from everything else that they could sip on?
Yeah, so we took a very intentional focus on this company to use traditional winemaking methods. There's a lot of times I'll say, you know, and for those out there that, you know, like love a sweet
simple beer-like cider. I'm sorry, I might offend you here for a second, but just
Nothing's aired for everyone.
bear with me. I don't know, it's made for everyone, yeah, so just bear with me. But I like to say a lot of times that, in some ways, America has done, the cider industry, the cider product, a true disservice over the past 100 years. When you look at the mainstream ciders that got developed, over the past century or so, they tended to be more kind of like a simple, sweeter, kind of apple-flavored, fizzy beverage to compete with beer, or be like a beer alternative. But when you look internationally, and you look at where cider grew up, like in Spain and the UK and other parts of the world, it's much more akin to like a fine wine. It's basically like a low-alcohol sparkling wine, and it can take on forms that are way more wine-like than any other products out there. And so we're focused on that here. We're focused on accentuating the wine-like qualities that you can receive from a well-made, clean, beautiful, complex cider that takes time, right? You don't crank it out. You can't crank it out as fast as a beer to do what we're doing. It takes, better part of a year to get to the type of cider that we're making. So we really focus on the wine methods to drive that complexity and showcase the fruit.
Beautiful. I mean, cut it and make it a commercial. We're done here.
I would also add on to that. I mean, we're making this like Brendan's saying, a sparkling wine style cider. So a lot of times, especially with like high-end sparkling wines or champagnes, they can be kind of like dripping in tradition and like intimidating to buy, and like you're not sure if you're supposed to spend that much money on that product. Are you getting cheated, or is there value there? And so for us, we wanted to create a sparkling wine style cider that's accessible to everyone. That's like less about the dripping in heritage and tradition, and more like just have fun with it. Like that's why our label is kind of like playful, youthful, and that's how our aesthetic is going to be going forward. It's just we want everyone to be able to enjoy it. It's not something that you have to have a champagne flute in order to, pour it into a crystal glass or something like that. This is just like pop it and have fun.
Yeah, and it's not one of those, if you can't name all of the notes, then why even drinking it? And, it's a $400 bottle. Like, whether you're in a backyard with friends, camping trip, a nice dinner, I mean, in any way, shape, and form, it seems like it's something that can be enjoyed in that moment, to be shared with people. Because, like, again, like that's what alcohol is for, is to bring people together, loosen everybody up so we can actually all be present and enjoy people's presence. And so something that can fit that mold of wherever it finds itself to create that experience, sign me up. Because even some of like the nicest bottles of wines I've had in this situation, I'm kind of like, I'm not having fun.
Or you feel like you're supposed to be enjoying it more than you are. You're like, yep, this tastes like a red wine. Like, and it's like, if you're not noticing the nuances of it. And so no, just enjoy it. Like enjoy where you are. Like you're saying, enjoy the presence that you're in. And that's really where we're focusing for our distribution. Like we want to make sure that we're in our favorite bars and restaurants, not all bars and restaurants, but like the places that we like to go, because we want someone to be able to walk in there, have a great meal with family and friends. And that's where you should be experiencing a new brand, not just like, oh, it's on a liquor shelf, it's got a cool label, like, let's see if I like it. Like, no.
Why you gotta show me up like that? The amount of time, because like I do have preferences in wines, but then there's sometimes like, I need to try something new. It's like, that's cool. The vino says it's fine. Let's go. But yeah, I mean, I like that intentionality of where it's served and the energy that it's served in. Because again, you could, have an email list of every buyer and for every restaurant group and every restaurant and see where it goes. But you're like, no, we want you to be part of like the first part of this journey. And I know that there's also a lot of plans for the property in general, where now, if people come up, there's, the R&D farm, or like that first block that you have, we have, where we're sitting in right now, the manufacturing area, but tasting room coming, more blocks to have. Walk me through a little bit of like that process and the timeline behind there.
Yeah, absolutely. So to see the whole vision that we're doing here, that we're trying to put together here, we need that on-site experience, right? That's so important. It's just like how we want to be on great menus around Park City and Salt Lake. We want to have our own great menu right here on the property with the manufacturing, with the agriculture next to it. And so we're planning a tasting room that'll sit right in the middle of the agriculture, right in the central block planting there. And the idea is to have that proximity, to have that closeness of the agriculture right to the product. So you can be enjoying a wonderful glass of sparkling cider, enjoying a nice meal, and just literally just get out of your seat, walk right into a row, in orchard, and just really touch some trees and enjoy it. Like, enjoy the product sitting right where it came from the agriculture right to the glass. And so that's
Just like Carly said, you can walk by and get the fruit of high five.
Exactly. Give them their bags.
Good talk to him. It's cool. Let me hang out every day. That'll sit right in the middle of the estate. We're looking to hopefully break ground on that in the spring of 26. And so that would be opening in 27. So, a little bit out, but like we said, great things take time. So we're focused on that for the real experience part of the estate. We'll have full kitchen, full bar opportunity there. It's meant to be just kind of like a relaxed kind of lounge vibe, right? You come do an event there if you like. You can come on a daily tasting. Have a small meal if you like. I mean, it's meant to be cozy. It's meant to be relaxed. It's not white tablecloth. That's not the point at all. Beautiful.
Yeah, and we're excited for more people to experience the Camas Valley. I feel like we were talking earlier about how a lot of people drive through on their way into the Uintas, right? And there's not a lot of, there are some great vendors around here, but it'll be fun to give people another reason to stop and enjoy the valley before you head out into the Uintas, or when you're coming out with the Uintas, because there are just so many great producers around here. I mean, the views that we have from this property, Timpanogos right over there, and then up to Hoyt Peak over here, and it'll just be fun to bring people here and have them understand more specifically the land that we're.
Go stop by Ken's Cache. Go stop by the Chevron. Go by the petting zoo. All sorts of fun things. Yeah.
All right. Let's pop pork. We should pop pork. I'm sitting here, I'm like looking at this glass opening, I'm like, that's empty, and we could be drinking it while you're talking about it.
And the day I say no to somebody like, we should probably ball down. Listen, let's think about this for a minute. No, I'm always a fan. Yeah. Because what's the name of the pizza place? I always forget.
No, the Summit? Yeah, Summit and Pizza right now. You do some good stuff.
That was always one of. Yeah, it's iconic. Garlic knots. So walk us through the bottle a little bit and let you decide on as far as, everything from, a bottle itself to the branding and logo.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I'm holding in my hands right now a 750 ml cork and cage bottle. We, with the level of carbonation that's in the product, it's very similar to like a Prosecco or a Champagne. So you need to have, a thicker glass, to handle that. We could never do something like this in a can. It just explode, basically. It's just too many bubbles inside.
Yeah.
So we had a nice kind of a modern kind of edgy looking label with Great Basin rattlesnake on front. Made a decision to kind of feature, we love our location here. We're a high elevation orchard, state orchard. We like to say that we're agriculture on the fringe up here because we're such a high elevation. And so we like to kind of show off and talk about the natural world around us. And so you'll see the labels to come, but kind of feature, some kind of cool artwork with some natural elements of the world around us up here in our location. Same time, kind of be like, sort of a modern, edgy take on it. We don't want to be boring. We don't want to be cursed. It's like, it's more youthful.
Yeah.
I'll get this on. I'll get this on as close to the mic off as I can. Love it.
It's durable. These things have been through a lot. If they could talk, they would. They could have their own episode. Ooh. Perfect.
That was nice. So, color, we're kind of like I want to say like a dark kind of straw color, similar to like Champagne or Prosecco. Big time bottles, bone dry, 0 grams residual sugar in here. It all gets fermented during a carbonation process, just like a Prosecco. And a little bit of tropical notes, some minerality in the background, but some nice popping acidity. Nice mouth-watering, vibrant, bright acidity. Because honestly, we're kind of like designing a product too that we love to drink. We love dry, ultra-dry wines and ciders. And some nice elevated acidity because it gives you like brightness and pop in product. And that it really shows deepness.
Yeah. Because when I was introduced to cider, we talked about this before, but I was in DC interning, and I think I was like 24, having a great time in DC, and someone's like, oh, do you want a cider? And I'm thinking, I don't really want Martinelli's right now, but thank you. Like, no. And so they obviously had me like a Strongbow cider. I'm like, interesting, because I very sweet palate, always love a sweet treat. And I was like, this makes sense. And then as I've matured and appreciate other things, it's fun to, again, like find that dynamicness of cider and the whole breadth of the palate that can happen. And so excited to try some.
Yeah, I guess that really came from. Cheers.
Cheers. You guys for that?
Get over here, Autumn.
you're part of this. Cheers. Thank you so much for coming out. Ooh, yeah. I can envision myself on my patio in my Adirondack chairs and just, yeah.
Yep. In the shade, sunny day, find a shady spot.
Great for like a Tuesday on your patio or like, graduation ceremony or your next wedding. It can just fit all of the occasions.
Yeah. Or if you're accountant that just went month end or quarter end and you just need to take the edge off, then that works too. But no, it is bone dry, and I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea here. I mean, I think that you just get a lot more complexity. You see like the nuances at the fermentation, you want complexity from products when you have that bone dry, elevated acidity. There's a place, for like sweet ciders out there, just like there's a place for sweet wines, right? Like reserve wines, things like that. I think there's definitely a place for them. This to us is more of that kind of daily drink that pairs so well with so many different occasions in life and different dishes. Come out of kitchen.
Yeah, even again, part of the complexity. You usually taste fruit, especially in the apple. I mean, the sugar is what dominates a lot of that front of that flavor. But with this, you taste so much more of the other parts of the apple than just that punch in the throat of that sugary apple.
Right. Yeah. We've had a few sommeliers come in and do pre-tastings with us, and they're like, this is a scarpling Sauv Blanc, basically. Like, people would be hard pressed if you just line this up a bunch of scarpling lines to say that this wine is the cider. So it's pretty exciting to see people's minds change about what a cider has for you.
Yeah. So I've been watching the most recent season of The Bear, when they're always very cognizant of people like magazines, newspapers, critics coming in, and which can be stressful. Like, I can't imagine, like, all right, cool, we have a sommelier coming in, like, it's time to finally see what someone else thinks of this, because obviously you guys have your own various opinions, but have someone else can be like, ooh, like, touche. You're like, oh, thank you. It's been a while, and if you said anything else, I'd probably be a little bit chatty, but thank you so much.
I hold my breath a lot.
Next thing you know, Carlos sniffing, smelling salt, waking up to the motherfucker.
Yeah, it's fun though. You're kind of oftentimes you're taking them to a place they had avoided, right? Yeah. And it's like, it has a lot of characteristics and it shares similar component, like saying attributes as certain types of wine, but it's still different, right? We're still dealing with apples, so you have a different flavor profile, but there's more similarities and differences. And so you kind of meet in the middle with a lot of, professionals that have good experience, whether it's on the manufacturing side, like an actual producer, or like some, who's meant to evaluate and have great knowledge of the product.
And do you feel like with cider, like, here's my own ignorance coming in, but like, because with grapes and wine, I mean, the history of wine goes back further than, even someone's going to hate me for this comparison, but Jesus Christ showing up to the wedding and getting the party started when everybody runs out. But like all the way to the point of like, the typical grapes, old wines versus new vines, and so much thought and intentionality that's gone into it. But I feel like with cider, there's a little bit more room for creativity and expansion. And just in general, like the fruit itself, that there is more opportunity for, like, again, a creative mind like yours to really have fun and play with it. Or maybe it's just my own ignorance thinking it's that much different than a grape.
No. I think you're spot on. Like the history that you have on the wine side of the industry, sometimes it can be kind of shotgun, right? It's like, especially like 20 years ago, and certainly like 50 or 100 years ago, where it was kind of needed to taste like this, or this. Here's the small box that it needs to fit into. And it develops within that small box over a century or 2 or 3 centuries. You don't like necessarily have that with cider, so you're not trying to fulfill traditions, so to speak. You have more space to play. You have more white space. Because think about this: cider in the beginning, it was really in most parts of the world where it grew up. It was more of a working man's drink, right? It was like a laborer's drink, right? They'd make cider to drink in the fields, after they're done working, or even during while they were working in the fields. It was more about a blue-collar kind of laborer's drink in many parts of the world where it grew up. Over time, you started to have it become more of like a fine wine in certain key areas. But in the States, you never had that, right? And we're so new, right? The United States is so new in the history of culture that we just didn't have that. When it came to the U.S., it kind of came in this more kind of, for lack of a better word, like alcopop kind of formation a long time ago. And so
we're not shackled by tradition. We're not trying to prove something from 200 years ago. We can play with it and take it a different direction that people aren't used to, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Because like even Marcio Buffalo was saying something similar where when I West approached him about joining there, he's like, cider, I don't know what cider is. But then he kind of put together that that's what his family would drink in Brazil, and especially the kids would drink because it's kind of like, it's wine, but it's like cheap wine, and that's kind of what we have is like a replacement. And so, again, like so many of the things that at one point start as like, great example, kale. Kale used to be, again, the biggest buyer of kale back in the day was Pizza Hut because that was what they would use to put everything on top of and like to frame their like pizza bar. And then now it turned into this like, oh, you want your kale Caesar salad, which I do. And so it's fun to see how like some of these things that were once termed as something less fine, less, I mean, I don't know what word to use, but then to come back and be like, oh, actually we can make something pretty great out of this. We just need to rethink it and kind of give it the love that it needs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's an eye opener for people for sure. I mean, you look at this product here today, and obviously it has that color of a nice white wine. There's a touch of haze to it, which is very intentional. You lead a little bit of haze coming through product that actually increases the viscosity of the mouthfeel, kind of that palate heaviness of the product. It changes the flavor profile with it, and so we kind of like that. We like having like a little touch of haze in there, so that's perfectly normal. But this one is really, this first launch is really meant to show people that sparkling wine and sparkling cider are completely in the same vein, completely related. They're right next to each other. It's one's kind of an offshoot variation of the other. Now we'll do more adventurous stuff in the future, different varietals of apple and get way more adventurous, higher tannin, like way more challenging with other stuff. There's a lot. The cider world was huge, right? You can do a lot of interesting, fun stuff. But for our first release, it's like wanting to bring everyone together, right? Come from the beer world, come from the wine world, come from whatever you're familiar with, come to the cider world here, meet us here, and see how close this is to our two nice smart.
Yeah. And all you got to do is go drive to Camas, have a pretty drive, enjoy some pretty space, and out your beverage.
That's right on that. And it's also, this product that we just released is 8.5% alcohol. So it's lower alcohol than your typical wine, which is anywhere full, like 12 to 14% average. So yeah, a little easier to drink, easier the next day, and just immediately more.
Touche. Okay. 6 years in the making. Well, longer than that, for being honest. But as far as like this one, this year, this after this, no. But thank you both for bringing something so great to the area. I mean, it's something that, even just the thought of like having an orchard to this extent up in Camas is one thing, and then to create such an amazing cidery and everything that you guys have planned is, like touche. Congrats to you guys on everything you've accomplished. And excited for the future for Velvet. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for helping us stay figured out.
At least I can do. I don't do anything. I just talk to people and get to ask people questions. Everybody else does the cool stuff. Anything else you guys want me to share with Deborah?
You can follow us on Instagram at Dendrick Estate. We also have a newsletter you can sign up for on the website. And we'll be coming out with a new website here in just about 2 weeks, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, really excited to share it with everyone. Like you mentioned, you can get bottles here on site on Fridays and Saturdays from noon to 6. And as we expand our inventory, we'll probably expand those hours and days. And then keep an eye out for us for Dendrick Estate on your favorite menus around Bar City and Salt Lake. You'll be kicking out to our accounts in here in the next few weeks.
So whether you're headed up to the UNC to go camp, you're coming to the rodeo on the Full Pioneer Day, trying to think of all the other reasons people from like, come swing by. All of these things could, yes, a boy outsider folks want to
Come up Bike Slate Creek Trail in the Uintas, swing by on that Friday or Saturday, grab a bottle.
Yeah.
After
bring music in Kiowa on Fridays.
Still. I want to end with, I usually end with 2 questions, but you stole my thunder on the second question. Up where I could find more information, touche. But if you guys could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about them and their story, would you want to hear about?
Oh, that's a really good question.
This is usually why I have to cut out the most white noise. You could look.
Perfect. I'm kind of thinking like on cheese side of things, like Fernando over at Gold Creek Farms.
No.
just down the road, you got Gold Creek Farms. It's a small cheese making facility right on the edge of the Uintas. It's on the south side of the Camas Valley. It's up in Woodford.
Okay.
And Gold Creek Farms, he does some amazing cheese there. And call up Fernando. I'll hook you up.
Okay. Deal.
Connect you.
It'd be the cheesiest episode I'll ever do.
Well, Carly, Brendan, I'm so excited to see the rest of the story because if this were a book, we're in chapter like 4, we'll give it 5 of 20. And so excited to see everything that happens. Yeah, excited to trade along the way. And I will be back. And if I see it on the menu, I sure as hell am going to be ordering it. So awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Cheers. Cheers.
Ugh. I love a good story that has all of the good stories. If you want a love story, a little bit of creativity.
Look at that guy. What's up, brother? How are ya? Scooter.
I was going to say, is Kev Temp just going to it's like, I heard my name.
I heard my name being just...
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.